Welcome to Spoken Quora. Today, we are going to share a story through the summary of a book that has the power to transform your life. The title of the book is Discipline is Destiny, authored by Ryan Holiday. Let's begin. Leo was a young man from a small village, around 20 years old. But nothing seemed to be going right in his life. He wasn't good at his studies, nor did he have any job or purpose that he could take pride in. His days were spent sitting idly at home or wandering around with his friends, aimlessly. Sometimes, he would wonder what the purpose of his life was, but he couldn't figure out which direction to take. Gradually, Leo began to feel more and more disconnected from the world. His parents were deeply worried about him. They wanted him to do something meaningful, to find a purpose in his life. But Leo neither had a path to follow nor a sense of direction. He had given up on himself and had lost confidence in his abilities. Each day, it felt like life was slipping by meaninglessly, with no hope left in sight. One day, while walking aimlessly down a village road, lost in thought, Leo's eyes fell upon an old man. The man was dressed in simple clothes, but there was an unusual spark in his eyes. He was sitting under a tree, reading a book. Leo, curious, walked up to him and asked, "Grandpa, I see you sitting here every day, reading. What do you read about?" The old man smiled gently and said, "I reflect on my life and learn new things. These books give me direction." This was the first time Leo had heard such a response from someone. He stood silent for a moment, then asked, "Were you ever as lost as I am now? I feel like I don't understand where my life is going." The old man looked into Leo's eyes and said, "There comes a time in everyone's life when we feel lost. But the real strength comes when we understand the purpose of our lives." Leo saw the truth in the old man's words. He said, "But I don't understand what my purpose is. I feel like I'm just drifting through life without any direction." The old man picked up a book he had beside him, titled Discipline is Destiny. He opened the book and showed Leo the first page. Then, he read aloud from it, "The importance of purpose. Until you understand the true purpose behind your work, you will never be able to fully commit to anything. When you discover what brings you joy and fulfillment from within, that's when you can pull yourself out of any difficulty." Leo listened quietly, as if something deep inside him had awakened. For the first time, he realized that his aimlessness was because he lacked a clear purpose. He had been caught between what others said and his own lazy thinking. The old man looked at Leo and said, "If you want to achieve something great in life, the first step is to understand what you truly want. Without purpose, any effort becomes meaningless." Leo, in a low voice, asked, "But how do I figure out what my purpose is?" The old man replied, "You need to ask yourself, what is the one thing you do that makes you feel complete? What is that work which brings you happiness without expecting any external reward?" Hearing this, Leo felt something stir within him, something unfamiliar. He had never viewed his life from this perspective before. He had always thought that life was about chasing money or impressing others. But the old man's words gave him a new outlook on life. He realized that true happiness and satisfaction could only come from doing something that fulfilled him from within, not from meeting others' expectations. The old man then shared another lesson with Leo: once you understand the true purpose behind your work, you will be able to overcome any difficulty. This purpose will give you the strength to face every challenge. Leo nodded, slowly beginning to grasp the old man's words. For the first time in his life, he started to feel a glimmer of hope for change. He looked at the old man and said, "I understand now. I need to find the purpose of my life. But how do I do that?" The old man smiled and said, "The answer is already within you. Listen to your heart, and you will see the path. Start by taking small steps. Find the things that bring you joy from within, and when you find them, focus all your attention on them. That will lead you to your destination." Leo began to realize that he needed purpose in his life. He returned home with this new perspective and started asking himself what his purpose could be. For the first time, he felt that his life had a direction, but he still had to discover what it was. The old man's words echoed in his heart and mind as Leo started to look at his life from a new angle. His journey had just begun, and he knew there were many more lessons awaiting him. This moment marked the beginning of a new chapter in Leo's life. He had embarked on a journey of self-discovery, seeking to find his purpose. Change had started to take root in his life. Though the old man's words had given Leo a new sense of direction, the journey wasn't easy. Even after discovering the importance of purpose, Leo often felt helpless and confused. He struggled to bring discipline into his life. Every time he tried something new, he would fall back into his old habits. His mind still wandered, and his emotions sometimes made him feel weak. One day, Leo returned to the same place where he had first met the old man. He knew he had more to learn. This time, he approached with even more hope than before. As always, the old man was sitting under the same tree, reading a book. Leo humbly asked, "Grandpa, I still don't understand a lot. I've started thinking about my purpose, but whenever I try to do something, my emotions hold me back. I can't seem to bring discipline into my life." Leo looked at the old man and asked, "What should I do?" The old man smiled and replied, "This is completely natural. Recognizing your purpose is the first step, but without self-discipline, you won't be able to move toward it. The journey is only complete when you gain control over your thoughts, emotions, and actions. Self-discipline is the true key to success." Leo listened carefully, knowing that the old man was about to share another profound lesson. The old man picked up his book again and read a passage to Leo. Mastering the self. Self-discipline doesn't just mean holding yourself back. It means gaining control over every thought, emotion, and action. True freedom and success come when we become the masters of our minds and bodies. Self-discipline is a continuous practice that helps us move toward our values and long-term goals. Leo asked softly, "So, what should I do? How can I control my thoughts and emotions?" The old man gazed at Leo as if looking deep into his soul. Then, he explained, "The first thing you need to learn is how to calm your mind. Every time a negative thought or emotion arises within you, recognize it. Don't ignore it, but don't let it carry you away either. The more attention you pay to your thoughts and emotions, the more you'll understand them. And when you understand them, only then can you control them." Leo nodded but still had some doubt. "But when I get lost in my thoughts, I forget all of this. It feels like I can't control myself." The old man said, "That's perfectly fine. In the beginning, everyone feels that way. Discipline is not a magic wand that instantly fixes everything. It's a practice. Every time you try to control your mind, you'll get a little better at it." The old man continued, "You will grow stronger each time. The true meaning of self-discipline is not that you will never make mistakes, but that you learn from them and move forward. Self-discipline is not just about holding yourself back, it's about making the right choices. Every time you face a decision, think about which choice will bring you closer to your long-term goals. If you consistently make small, right choices, over time, you will see a big transformation in your life." Leo understood. He realized that discipline was not only about avoiding laziness or fear, but also about making wise decisions. Now, he knew he had to be mindful of each step he took and carefully consider which path he was following. The old man also gave him some practical advice. Every morning, sit quietly for a few minutes. Start your day with focus. Think about what you want to achieve and how that will bring you closer to your goals. Whenever a negative thought arises, observe it calmly and try to understand why it's there. Gradually, you will learn to control your mind. Leo took these words to heart. He decided that from now on, he would spend time every day understanding his thoughts and emotions. He also realized that self-discipline wasn't something achieved in a single day, it was a process, a journey of constant improvement. In the days that followed, Leo began applying the old man's advice to his life. Each morning, he practiced meditation, sitting quietly and reflecting on his day. Throughout the day, he paid close attention to his decisions, always asking himself if a particular choice would bring him closer to his long-term goals. Slowly but surely, Leo began to notice changes in his life. Where he had once been ruled by his thoughts and emotions, he now recognized and controlled them. He realized that self-discipline wasn't just about restraint, it was about making the right choices, and those choices would ultimately lead him to his destination. The old man's teachings and the book Discipline is Destiny had become guiding lights in Leo's life. He had come to understand that self-discipline was the key to reaching his goals, and now, he was ready to continue the journey toward his purpose with clarity and strength. Now, Leo was living his life with more self-control and purpose, but his journey was far from over. He knew there was still much to learn, and he sensed that the old man had more important lessons to teach him. A new dawn had arrived in Leo's life. In the past few days, he had diligently tried to incorporate the teachings of the old man into his life. He had identified his purpose and had begun practicing control over his thoughts and emotions. Yet, he realized that every day brought a new challenge. Maintaining discipline wasn't easy, and at times, he found himself slipping back into old habits. One day, Leo returned to the tree where he often met the old man. His eyes held a hint of worry, and he felt as though something was still missing. He wanted to be disciplined, but his emotions and thoughts sometimes led him astray. He knew he needed another lesson. The old man smiled as if he already knew what was on Leo's mind. "Back again," the old man said in his calm voice. Leo nodded and replied, "Grandfather, I'm trying, but sometimes it feels like I get stuck in my own thoughts and emotions. I want to be disciplined, but doubt keeps creeping in. Why is that happening?" Listening to him, the old man said, "Son, it's natural. We're all human, and our minds are filled with emotions and thoughts. True discipline, however, comes not only when we understand these feelings and thoughts but when we learn to control them. That is what we call self-discipline, mastery over our mind, emotions, and actions." Leo listened intently. The old man always spoke deep truths, giving him a new direction each time. Leo asked, "But how can I control my mind and emotions, grandfather? Sometimes it feels like they are beyond my control." If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to subscribe. If our videos have touched your life or made a difference for you, your support means more than words can express. You can donate just 5 rupees to our UPI account mentioned in the description so we can provide stationery like copies and pens to underprivileged children every week. By contributing, you're not just supporting our work, you're becoming a vital part of our mission and our story. Your generosity helps us keep our passion alive and creates even more meaningful content. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you for your kindness and support. Now, let's return to the summary. The old man picked up his book, opened a page, and said, "There's a lesson for you here. Listen carefully." He began reading, Mastering the Self. Self-discipline doesn't just mean controlling yourself from external distractions, but mastering the thoughts, emotions, and actions within. Until we gain control over our minds, we cannot achieve true freedom. The essence of discipline is to calm the inner turmoil and make decisions that align with our values and long-term goals. Leo took a deep breath and said, "Grandfather, that's a huge idea, but how difficult it is to actually do." Leo approached the old man once again. His face reflected a sense of progress, but also the awareness that his journey was far from over. "Grandfather, I've tried to incorporate your last teachings into my life," Leo said as he sat down under the familiar tree. The old man smiled, his eyes twinkling with understanding. "That's good to hear, Leo. But I'm sure you've realized that discipline is not a destination, but a journey." Leo nodded, "Yes, but it's difficult. I understand that I need to control my emotions and thoughts, but sometimes it feels impossible." The old man chuckled softly, "Nothing worthwhile is ever easy, my boy. But difficult doesn't mean impossible. Self-discipline is a journey that begins with understanding every little emotion and thought that arises within you. Don't try to suppress what you feel. First, understand it. Only then will you learn how to control it. Leo's eyes brightened with hope. But how do I apply this in my everyday life? Can you give me something practical, something I can do daily? The old man nodded wisely. You must begin each day with yourself. Spend a few moments in the morning in silence, reflecting. Meditate on your goals for the day and how you plan to achieve them. Whenever a negative thought or emotion arises, recognize it. Don't try to push it away, but understand why it's there. Slowly, you will learn to control them. He paused and added, discipline doesn't mean you constantly restrain yourself. It means making the right choices. Every time you are faced with a decision, think about whether that choice will bring you closer to your long-term goals. If not, let it go. It's a process, Leo, one that requires constant practice. Leo nodded as the wisdom settled in. He realized that discipline wasn't about just suppressing emotions or desires but about understanding them and channeling them in the right direction. He was ready to pay more attention to his actions, decisions, and thoughts. In the days that followed, Leo took the old man's advice seriously. Each morning, he spent time meditating, trying to understand his thoughts and emotions. Whenever he faced a tough decision, he would ask himself if that choice aligned with his long-term goals. Slowly, he felt a new strength growing within him. But Leo knew the journey wasn't over. Discipline meant making new choices every day, and he understood that he still had much to learn. One day, when faced with a particularly difficult decision, he remembered the old man's words. He calmed his mind, thought it through, and made a decision that not only brought him closer to his purpose but also filled him with confidence. The teachings of the old man were becoming a part of Leo's daily life. Discipline was turning into a habit. He had learned that self-discipline wasn't just about controlling oneself but about guiding one's life in the right direction. Yet, Leo knew this journey was ongoing. There were still more lessons to be learned, and the old man was always there, waiting, ready to guide him further along the path of wisdom and growth. Leo's life was slowly transforming. The teachings of the old man were no longer just lessons, they were becoming his way of living. He had learned to master his thoughts and emotions, and discipline was becoming second nature to him. The old man sat under the tree, as always, waiting for Leo to return with more questions, ready to guide him through the next phase of his journey. Leo sat quietly, his gaze fixed on the old man. I'm starting to gain control over my thoughts and emotions, he said softly, but I know the journey isn't over yet. Will you show me the way forward? The old man took a deep breath and nodded. Indeed, Leo, your journey is far from complete. Discipline isn't just about controlling our inner emotions and thoughts. It's a long path, and to truly understand it, we must learn from the great figures in history who transformed their lives through the power of discipline. Leo, intrigued, asked, great figures? Who are you talking about, grandfather? With a gentle smile, the old man responded, there have been many throughout history who achieved extraordinary things through discipline. Their stories show us that discipline isn't just an ordinary trait, but a force that can change our destiny. Leo's curiosity grew. Please, tell me about these people. How can I learn from their discipline? The old man opened his book and began to speak. Let me share with you the stories of two great individuals. The first is Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king of ancient Rome, and the second is Lou Gehrig, a legendary American baseball player. The old man began with Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius was a Roman emperor, but he was not just a ruler, he was a philosopher at heart. He wrote a book called Meditations, in which he reflected on life, discipline, and the nature of the self. Marcus believed that our lives are shaped by our thoughts and attitudes. To him, discipline was about mastering one's emotions and impulses. Even in times of war or political strife, he remained calm and composed, guided by his principles. Leo listened intently, realizing that Marcus Aurelius's story wasn't just about an emperor, but about the immense power of self-discipline. The old man continued, Marcus believed that if we can control our emotions, we can face any situation. He taught that we should not worry about things beyond our control. Worrying about what we can't change is a waste of time. Leo absorbed the lesson. Marcus Aurelius's philosophy was about focusing on what was within his power to change, his thoughts, his actions, his reactions, and letting go of the rest. The old man paused before shifting to the next figure. Now, let me tell you about Lou Gehrig, one of the greatest baseball players in history. He was known for his incredible work ethic, perseverance, and humility. Gehrig faced immense challenges, including a terminal illness, but he never allowed it to break his spirit. His discipline allowed him to keep playing at the highest level, even when his body was failing him. When he finally retired, he gave a speech that moved the world, thanking life for the opportunities it had given him, rather than focusing on the difficulties. Leo felt a deep respect for these figures. Both Marcus Aurelius and Lou Gehrig exemplified the power of discipline, not just as a tool for achieving greatness, but for handling life's greatest adversities with grace and strength. Leo, the old man said softly, the journey of discipline is not about achieving perfection. It's about progress, learning from the greats who came before us, and applying their lessons to our own lives. Leo nodded, realizing that this was the next step in his journey. He needed to learn not only from his own experiences but from the lives of those who had mastered discipline before him. The old man's words lingered in Leo's mind as he walked away from the tree that day. His journey was far from over, but now he had the stories of Marcus Aurelius and Lou Gehrig to guide him. They had shown him that true discipline wasn't just about controlling one's emotions, it was about transforming life itself. And so, Leo's path continued, now with a deeper understanding of what discipline meant, and the knowledge that there were many more lessons ahead, waiting for him to uncover. Instead, we should focus on our work and responsibilities. Leo took a deep breath and said, Grandfather, you also taught me that we should gain control over our emotions. But how did Marcus Aurelius apply this in his life? The old man smiled and replied, Marcus not only believed in this principle but lived it as well. Whenever his empire faced crises, he remained calm and disciplined. He never allowed his anger or frustration to dictate his decisions. He demonstrated that true greatness comes from simplicity, restraint, and self-control. Leo nodded, understanding the lesson. He realized that the essence of discipline was not just fighting against external circumstances but also conquering the struggles within himself. Now, the old man began to tell the story of Lou Gehrig. Lou Gehrig was a great baseball player in America, but his greatness extended beyond the game. It lay in his discipline and dedication. Lou adhered to discipline throughout his life and achieved excellence in his sport, but his greatest lesson emerged when he was diagnosed with a severe illness known as amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, later called Lou Gehrig's disease. Leo listened intently, sensing that this story would be significant. When Lou learned about his diagnosis, he didn't give up, the old man continued. He understood that his life was going to become very challenging, but he maintained discipline throughout. He bid farewell to his career, but the farewell speech he delivered still resonates in people's hearts. In that speech, he expressed, "Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth." He never allowed his illness to overshadow his self-worth or purpose. Leo felt deeply inspired by Lou Gehrig's story. He pondered how a person could remain so positive and disciplined even in such a grave situation. The old man responded, "Lou Gehrig lived his life with discipline and dedication. He taught us that discipline isn't just about winning, it's about understanding how to maintain balance in our lives even during tough times." As the old man finished, Leo realized the profound impact of discipline on both Marcus Aurelius and Lou Gehrig. These stories filled him with a renewed sense of purpose, making him eager to embrace his own journey with the same spirit of resilience and determination. Discipline not only leads us to success but also gives us the strength to face difficulties, the old man concluded. The stories of Marcus Aurelius and Lou Gehrig teach us that discipline is not something we achieve just once, it is a journey we embrace every day, every moment. Greatness comes from simplicity, restraint, and self-control. All the great individuals in history adopted this journey of discipline, and you too are on this path. Leo listened carefully to the old man's words and realized he was headed in the right direction. He thought, if these great individuals could make their lives so remarkable through discipline, then I can too. So friends, that was our book summary for today. How did you find it? Please share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you.